Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us, or myself, on this webinar that we're doing on the UCC. Obviously, it's April the 1st. I don't know if it's a common tradition around Europe, but I was going to start with UCC's been cancelled, but I thought it was a fool's joke that probably nobody would really believe. What we'll do is just recap on initially have an introduction. So the agenda today, which is a brief introduction, and then we're going to look at the country statuses for Belgium and the UK. Unfortunately, it's only myself talking, so I'll try and keep it as short and brief as I can. So hopefully last week we said the idea of these webinars is to have them sort of every 2 weeks where we can, to update you on the latest UCC changes. It's something that is continuously changing and evolving, quite a fluid situation. We are only going to be focusing on the changes which impact on the custom software, so we're not going to be offering any kind of consultancy advice on sort of valuation issues or origin issues that have changed as part of the UCC. I'm going to look to provide information on country specifics as they become clearer. Some member states have been a bit more prepared than others. Some member states have been waiting for guidance to come out from the EU Commission before issuing their own guidance, which has proved delays. Others, like in the UK, have been quite in setting out their guidance in the absence of any formal guidance. So should you be preparing for the UCC? Well, one of the things is understand the basics. What's affected by the UCC? Look at what parts of the UCC affect you. What procedures are you using? Customs in processing. And then you look at it and build a plan and see, where it impacts on your processes and procedures. So we've listed a couple of links there below where you can find out a bit more information. There is an e-learning webinar in the EU Commission. It does take a little bit of time, but it is quite a good background. It gives people the background of UCC, the perspective of both the customs authorities and trader, and where the EU see the benefits for a trader should be. It is thorny in parts, but it has got quite a lot of information there, so it is useful if you get the opportunity to look at that. We're also looking to send out regular customs newsletters. I think there's been some set out in some regions already, and we're looking to send out one in the UK, hopefully early next week. We have our own resource centre on the Descartes website. And there are, as I said, there are national customs authorities in their own guidelines and FAQs, which are also a good source of information for you. So, if we look into some specifics then on Belgium, some of the things that have come out of a recent meeting and presentation from the Belgian authorities. So on the PLDA system, if you do customs warehousing, you'll no longer be able to do declaration type K. That will be replaced with a type J, which should be used in future. So I believe this is where you would declare whether the goods have arrived or not. You can see on there as well, the new warehouse codes will come into effect from the 1st of May. So if you're a type A, that becomes a type R. If you're B, that becomes a type F becomes T, CDE becomes a U. Now, a knock-on effect of that is that the current code C600, which is used, will be deleted, and there will be a range of new codes that will apply. So it's important you understand what those codes depend on what type of warehouse. Now, obviously, with all of this, the solutions that we provide, the changes being made in terms of both the code lists and any processing that needs to be done. But it's still important to make sure that you're aware of the changes and can check. If there's any questions, obviously you can reach out to the support desks. So back to these warehouse codes. The transition period is if you're doing a new declaration, to correct declaration that began before the 1st of May, then you must use the new codes. If you're doing a removal declaration after the 1st of May, again, the new codes apply. If you're doing a declaration which applied to the old Type D warehousing or Type E with D procedures, then use the new codes. If you're using Type D, then you're on using the old codes. So in most cases, it's the new codes after the 1st of May. The only exception is if you were a Type D and the receipt was made before the 1st of May, then when those goods are removed, you use the old codes. Things that have come out in Belgium, this is becoming common across other member states. They've clarified that yes, where if sale in warehouse, there was no sale on import, so there was not a valid method 1 transaction on import, then that sale that must be used as the basis of customs value on removal. Therefore, in the system, expect you to provide the correct value in the outbound declaration. So again, something that affects you if you're intercompany supplies or situations where there's not a sale through the goods being entered into customs warehouse, that's something that's worth checking out. It's common, has been known for some time. Type D procedures fish, so this will affect anybody that have used Type D and have been applying the exchange rates on receipt into warehouse. It will be the exchange rates applicable on the date of removal. So, Type D is kind of a mixed procedure, but generally people using Type D would use the value, the exchange rates, the duty rates on import. They'll have the option of doing that. No longer applies. Everything is based on the tax point at the date of removal of the warehouse. How that affects your processes is something that's worth checking. If anybody's using IPR drawback, that finishes from the 1st of May. You're still allowed to discharge any goods and claim back any IPR drawback for goods previously entered. So that will continue until the end of your agreed throughput period. But after the 1st of May, the only option is processing, which is under suspension. On to temporary storage in Belgium. This will generally just apply to the Antwerp, Zeebrugge, Ghent, and Brussels airport. Basically, there'll be some additional messaging requirements that are extending the summary declaration for temporary storage, the existing CUSCAR message, to include some additional elements to account for the declaration into temporary storage. The biggest problem is they're still not 100% sure, as far as I understand, whether or not this will be applicable from the 1st of May. So they're looking at extending it. I believe they understand the elements they want to include, but whether that will actually be applicable from the 1st of May, I think is still to be decided. What will apply from the 1st of May is the amount of time you can hold goods in temporary storage, which is increased to 90 days. That has an impact in terms of goods already in temporary storage. If they're already in temporary storage, then they qualify for the 90 days. But my understanding in Belgium is that there's something over the rating of the goods in temporary storage and the amount of time. So if you have got a temporary storage agreement with Belgian authorities, it's probably checking how that affects you. Okay, so that's really the changes potentially for the 1st of May for Belgium. What I'm going to move on to now is the UK. So for customs warehousing, there was a recent meeting with UK Customs, and they have confirmed that where simplified procedures are being used into customs warehouse, legislation says that there shall be a supplementary declaration. So as it's a shall not be, they're not legally entitled to ask for one. So they've confirmed there is no supplementary declaration. If we consent at the moment, it's understood that it could be rejected by the customs system. For anyone using onward supply relief in the UK, so this is where goods are coming in and the VAT is zero-rated because they're going to be onward supplied to another member state. Coming out of warehouse, UK Customs has said that the process had to change and effectively a declaration had to be submitted prior to the goods being physically removed. That's the case, but what they're now looking at, has come out, is the option of the possibility of a simplified notification of a customs declaration. Obviously, this is very late. We're on the 1st of April, and this is supposed to be enacted on the 1st of May. So we're pushing as to whether that's an option. It's not clear whether that's still a transaction notification or maybe a daily notification. It's all still very in its infancy. So, the software solutions are working on the premise that a declaration will have to be submitted and accepted prior to removal. But if Customs come up with a simplified notification, then obviously we'll let you know. Entering the declarant's records notification. So this is what is currently local clearance procedures in the UK. Under the UCC, unless you have a waiver, a present waiver, you'll be required to send a notification to Customs every time the goods enter into the declarant's records for removal. So, that would be quite a difficulty for a number of traders. Now, what Customs have said is if you're an existing LP trader, you should be covered by waiver already. It is worth you digging out those authorisations, your Customs Warehouse authorisations, your CFSP authorisations, and just double checking that you are covered by that waiver. There are some circumstances where the waiver doesn't exist. If you're thinking about applying for Customs Warehousing, or even if you've got Customs Warehousing, if it's coming up for assessment, it's going to be really important to consider getting AEO status, which should allow you to have this waiver. Other onward supply relief changes. In the last webinar, it was understood that you couldn't claim onward supply relief outside of Customs Warehousing under simple procedures. So this is from the normal at the frontier. What Customs have confirmed is that you can still use the simplified declaration procedure, but you can use entry into the declarant's records at the frontier. So it mainly surrounding the EU's concern of the amount of fraud around onward supply and the need to at least declare the goods inside to Customs to give them the opportunity to vet the goods before they are removed. With processing, we covered again last time that there are these changes in the customs procedure codes, and this is common across the EU, so in any other member states will have a similar system. So any customs procedure codes that are currently used that start with 91 disappear. Obviously the drawback procedure codes of 41 disappear. Everything now will be under a 51 series procedure code. Important that if anyone's authorised for simplified procedure or have any authorisations that refer to specific procedure codes, that they check that the codes that they will want to use after the 1st of May have been included on those authorisations. UK Customs have indicated that a change or an addition of a procedure code in these circumstances wouldn't count as a change causing a reassessment or a reapproval. So it shouldn't mean that any guarantee requirements kick in or there needs to be a reassessment or reapproval because there's a change being imposed by the customs authorities. There are other member states take that same view. We would hope they would take a similar position. He's using end use. As you know, under the UCC, there's a requirement to have a bill of discharge now to actually confirm the goods that are entered to end use have been properly put at use or otherwise discharged. There was some discussion about whether that would have to be on an individual basis UK Customs have confirmed, and this is from the Commission as well, that it can be scheduled on a monthly basis. So in the UK, that means that if you have goods entering into discharged under end use in the month of May, you can all those up into a monthly return, provided that is then submitted by the day of the following month. To have until the 30th of June to that bill of discharge in customs with the schedule. The forms in the UK are still being designed, so we probably won't see those until after the 1st of May. But again, anybody who's got end use should be looking at how they're going to collate that information, how they're going to schedule it, and then put that to customs at the end of the period. The important thing customs mentioned, and it won't be particularly effective from the 1st of May. This will be as UCC develops, is the comprehensive guarantee management. So you've got the guarantee waiver, traders will be having comprehensive guarantees. In many member states, guarantees are a fact of life. In the UK, it's a fairly new thing. Where a comprehensive guarantee is used, putting goods into customs warehouse, processing, then the guarantee reference will need to be declared as part of the customs declaration. The comprehensive guarantee will actually cover a number of pots. So you can have a comprehensive guarantee that covers warehousing and processing, and you need to find how much covers each particular pot. Now, what customs said is you can't take money out of one pot and put it into another. So it's not like you can have more debt in customs warehouse than you're covered for, but you've got some spare in processing. You can put that. They're very distinct silos. So the management of that comprehensive guarantee is going to be key going forward into the UCC. And UK Customs made it clear that if people are not to be managing their comprehensive guarantee, they would consider that compliance issue, and obviously you potentially lose any ability to use special procedures, AEO status, etc. So it's going to be a key factor of managing those comprehensive guarantees. They also said it's the trader's responsibility to monitor and manage their comprehensive guarantees. The only ones that customs are obliged to monitor are transit guarantees and debt guarantees. The ones under the potential debts is down to the trader to manage and prove that they have them under control. So a couple of bits that are still up in the air. The customs supervised exports, which is the exports LCP. It had to be renamed. It doesn't qualify for entry into the declarant's records. About 99% of exports wouldn't qualify for EDR. However, people still wanted the ability to take goods into control at their own premises. So customs have renamed this as customs supervised exports. My understanding is there's still some discussions going on regarding excise locations, particularly the uncertainty over whether there's an EMCS movement required from the premises to the Office of Export and Exit. So hopefully, again, we'll be hearing more about that in the next month, and I'm sure those traders, if there are any on the call that have got size warehouses and local clearance procedures, are already in discussion with customs on that anyway. Low value bulk imports. This is a procedure where goods under £50 or between £15 and £135 can be entered under a certain incomplete declaration procedure. As UCC has no incomplete declaration procedure, that effectively ends on the 1st of May. There are discussions ongoing about the simplifications, especially on those goods less than £15. The original proposal from Customs suggested that it would be a simplified procedure where you would provide a simplified frontier declaration, but with more data. Now, it's a lot more data than is currently required for those very low-value products. So that will cause a number of issues for people bringing in large volumes of small packages. So again, still a discussion that's ongoing. I think there was a consultation process. Comes due to issue a decision based on that process, and that was supposed to be any day. But again, I would suggest anyone involved in low L-value BI, if you're not already doing so, just make sure that you're up to date on that and keep an eye out for any updates or nudges. The last one really in the UK is UK Customs are suggesting that they're actually going to make the system changes on the 3rd of May. So UK May is a bank holiday, so they're suggesting that it's a good time to make the changes. So obviously to raise some questions, what's the status of goods on the 1st and the 2nd of May? But we're in a transition period, so hopefully there'll be some flexibility. So that's really the update for Belgium and the UK. As we said last time, if there are any questions, we've got an email that you can send those questions to. There was one last week, so we're going to put that hopefully up on a frequently asked questions. But again, it may be of interest to other people on the line. So the question was, it was noted that the CT Series 49, which applies to free circulation goods from countries with a customs union, the EU, no longer exists under UCC, and in the UK there are some specific CPCs that start with 49. Customs have confirmed those will continue until much later, that they've got no plans to remove those. The other question was with those new IPR CPCs was if you bought goods under the old procedure, did to use the old discharge customs procedures, because what was previously discharged under IPR, the code changed. Again, the clarification is that you would use the new codes. So anything discharged on the 1st of May have to use the new UCC codes and processes. Okay. So that was the frequently asked questions. Hopefully there might be some more questions after this webinar. As I say, if you send them into that email, we'll look to get back to you. We'll look to cover them in the future webinars and post them on the frequently asked questions. We'll notify you of the next webinar, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, and we'll have some updates on some other member states we are of interest to you. So at that point, I think I'll draw this to a close. Thank you for joining us.